All right. Just waiting for the gents to get back from their breakout rooms, and then we'll get started. Welcome back, gents.
All right.
Everyone's
In New
looking
Zealand,
like
Jared?
No, mate, didn't make it over.
Oh, no.
No, once they closed the borders and restricted the hotel quarantine, that was the end of it. So I'm in sunny East Brisbane. But I'm still looking to get out. So,
Don't leave us, bro.
I think I'll go regional probably next week.
What, Toowoomba?
Oh, baby. Yeah.
Mate, come up the hill. We're very welcoming up here. It's bloody unreal. How'd everyone go with their game plans? Is anyone absolutely crushing it? Well, everyone's supposed to put their hands up there.
A resounding yes.
I was like, fuck, no one? Is anyone
It's been a tough week, mate.
Yeah, has anyone been really struggling with it?
Yeah, I put my hand up for that, Lockie.
Yeah.
I said the word.
Yeah, definitely.
What's been going on, Cambo?
Oh, mine's just I just haven't adapted to that injury yet. And I think going from being able to do 3 footy sessions, 4 gym sessions to just literally being able to fucking walk, I kind of just haven't got my head around it, and I think I've just used it as an excuse. But I said to the boys in my group, the one thing I changed one thing this week, and I got back into listening to the audio books. So I just took one step, and then I think I just got to figure out how to do it that way. And if anyone knows me, and I think a couple of need to do, my brain doesn't suit walking. It's way too slow for my liking. But yeah, so just that combined with being like, this is the first time in my working life I had to work from home, and that's just been a nightmare. People think it'd be awesome working from home without your wife and kids there, but nah, that human interaction I really struggle with. So I think it's just all done that, but I just really got to own it and say, fuck, you can either go down this path and put on all your weight and be miserable, or you can sort it out. So.
Yeah, epic. Mate, one thing, like, I'm the same as you, Cambo, like, this has been the hardest lockdown by far, and I'm not even locked down. I can still fucking move around and stuff up here. But I had a call with my coach on Tuesday or Wednesday, and because I'm so I love structure and routine, and when that's taken away, I actually created and I'm not saying you guys have to do this, but one thing for me is if I just sit down and I've got a checklist, like, I'll fucking nail it. And for me, every day is the same in terms of business and also habit. So I've literally got 30 pages, so it goes for a whole month of everything that I've got to do and everything that I've got to track for business, but other things in my life. So if that's not done, I'm not leaving the workbench. But rather than going, oh, where am I up to, or what am I supposed to be doing? Because at the moment there's so much uncertainty, or that's how I feel. I've been getting distracted and procrastinating. So I've just tried this, and it's been working really well. So I think obviously the game plans are awesome, but if you're really need like someone or something to hold your hand like I do, I just made something that I can tick it off and get that accomplishment with, because that way I know if I'm doing something that's not on that piece of paper, it's not needed. It's just me trying to procrastinate and overcomplicate shit. Was anyone else really off track at the moment? Sean?
Yeah, this is the post Dry July aftermath, I guess we would call it, and then just top that with a lockdown, and I just go, you know what, I'm just gonna have a week off any sort of planning. That's me done. I'm gonna put the Olympics on, sit on my couch and feel sorry for myself and enjoy it. So, but I didn't have the kids also, so I get the kids back today, and that'll straighten me out a bit. So,
yeah. Was it good getting off Dry July, mate? Having a few vinos or tequilas or whatever you got down the gullet?
Yeah, I'm going to have to stock the wine fridge up again, that's for sure. It was good. It was enjoyable. So.
Anyone else?
I've just got some like unhealthy habits or just have bad habits formed over the last few weeks. I think it's spilled over from lockdown 5. Just sort of like falling asleep on the couch and routine's gone out of whack and yeah, broken sleep, spending too much time on the socials and so forth. So it's something that I'm conscious of. I just need to break that pattern.
Yeah,
and it doesn't make it any easier now because we're back in lockdown again, because it's this. So it's like, I can either just keep going with it, or I've got a chance to like reset over the weekend, the next week or so. So
yeah, awesome ownership, boys. I think just before we dive into the topic, like one of the things that we'll be touching on with this is like how we deal with pressure as well. And it's even for myself, like I've definitely dropped the ball on what I'm wanting to be doing, but moments like this and lockdowns and various other stuff that pops up in life really shows or tests our character with how we respond in adversity. And, going through 6 lockdowns like Melbourne has, or 4 like Brisbane has, or whatever, like obviously it gets tiring, but it's also the perfect opportunity to go, righto, well, how much longer can I push to maintain the standard for myself? Because when we get back out, which hopefully is soon, we're going to have increased our threshold around what we can sustain. And that's ultimately, it's obviously easier said than done, because especially for those who are back in lockdown, it's like, shut the fuck up, Lockie. But that's for me what I'm looking at it as like, because I'm tired. I'm sure you guys are tired with a lot of the stuff, but I'm just like, all right, how much longer, what can I learn? What can I, challenge? Because when we do get back in the clear, it's going to be smooth sailing. Like it's going to feel like nothing. In a couple of years' time, we're going to go, fuck, remember COVID? Life's a breeze now, hopefully. And if anyone has listened to Joe Rogan's latest podcast, has anyone listened to Joe Rogan's latest podcast? Do yourself a favor. It will change your fucking life. The chick's from North Korea. She escaped North Korea. And what she went through and what North Koreans go through, it just is insane. Like I've never seen Joe Rogan not have anything to say so many times in one conversation. So if you get 3 hours or just under 3 hours, definitely listen to it and like sit down and listen to it. I watched it on Spotify, so it might even be worth watching tonight. A little Friday night sad story. Anyway, enough on that. Let's talk about responding versus reacting or does anyone have anything they want to share quickly before we dive into this one?
Can I jump in just real quick?
Yeah, sure.
We had a really good chat in our little group, and everyone shared some sort of what's going on in their lives at the moment. And something that we've been talking about this week, sort of at home and at work, because, a lot of people are experiencing a bit of depression or a bit of negative thoughts coming into their mind. We've been really focusing on just this silly little saying, and that's, you can visit Victim Town, but don't buy a house there. It's okay to feel like shit's getting on top of you. It's okay to feel like poor me for a little while. But what we've talked about this morning rings true. Like, feel it, work a strategy to get around it and then move on from it. But yeah, a lot of people beating themselves up thinking, they're not doing what they usually do, or they're not achieving what they usually achieve. That's fine. Just use that to plan something better and work a strategy out of it. It's okay not to be perfect all the time, I think, is a good message during lockdown.
Mate, that's awesome. I've definitely been looking at rentals in Victim Town, that's for sure. There's a few available.
Just drive on through, have a look, take in the sights, and then hit the accelerator and get the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Brado. So, gents, for those who are reading this month's book with GS Youngblood, obviously a masculine in relationship. For those who listen to the podcast, like, I think now that I've actually read his book, I've got a heap more context around a lot of the stuff that he was saying, because there's been a couple of guys, Mark was another one who came on the podcast, who I think I need to get more context around why they say things in the way that they say it. Because when I first listened to it and had the conversations, there was a few things that I was like, fuck this guy. But now that I'm reading it, I've taken so many notes, and I want to keep discussing it over the next couple of weeks, because we've got a heap of great stuff that I believe, it's triggering me and it's making me work on things and identify things. But I think if, it can be tools, you don't have to do this and you don't have to look at it. But I think it's from a relationship perspective, and I always go back to like statistics on reasons why men take their life by suicide or other things. It's, 8 times or 7.5 times more likely a suicide is because of a relationship breakdown. So if we aren't having the conversations around it, if we aren't understanding and asking ourselves questions and discussing things, it's impossible for us to really grow through that perspective, through that area, sorry. So where I was up to in the book at the moment, like one of the big things for him is obviously responding and reacting. And we've spoken about this in the past. You can either react, which is generally an uneducated and an unintentional response. Like responding and reacting are technically the same fucking thing, right? It's how we deal with what's in front of us. And the response or the responding style is a bit more emotional intelligence to it. You take some time to think about it, process it, and think about what you want to gain from it. And within a relationship, I spent, even still, there's moments where I'll react and just flip off, and it doesn't end up adding much value to it. But he gave a whole list of areas that he broke down for finding your masculine core. And essentially the masculine core, and what he was breaking it down to, is areas that if you're feeling strong and confident in these areas, it's going to be a lot you're going to be a lot stronger within the relationship in regards to being triggered and actually reacting. Whereas if you're feeling comfortable and aware in these areas, you're going to be able to process it better and respond, which is generally going to lead to a better discussion or outcome. Does that make sense in how I'm saying it? I'm just for those who are reading the book, you'll get there anyway if you're not there. But I want you boys to write this down, because obviously we're all at different stages, and some of you might go, "No, fuck that," which is fine. But I think it's important to write them down and then go, okay, well, maybe this is a reason why some of my relationships, and this is intimate, but it can also be with your mates. Maybe this is an area that I need to work on specifically, and maybe this is something that I'm doing a heap that I need to get out of my life. Okay, so first one. So obviously, when you're looking to find your masculine core and get in that masculine space, is taking charge. So obviously, we talk a lot about that in here, is taking ownership, but taking charge. Secondly, speaking confidently. Moving deliberately. So once again, that's just having intention. Having a strong presence. And I'll explain these a little bit more in a second. Stands with a grounded, natural posture. Seems unswayed by others. Has clear boundaries. States what he wants. Steps up to lead a group. Speaks his truth. Has a strong purpose in life.
What was that one, Lockie?
Has a strong purpose in life.
Purpose.
Yeah. Acknowledges his emotions. Seems fearless. Attracts others to him. And is listened to when he speaks. So there's some things that he's highlighted there that, you can look at within yourself, or even look at people that you may follow in life, like where do they show up? How do they step up? Even posturally, he gives an example where when someone crosses a road, and this is me, this is one of my things that I always feel like I'm in the road when I'm even walking across a crosswalk, and you've got right away, I'm one of the people who puts his head down and tries to get across really quickly because I don't want to hold up the traffic, rather than being, well, technically the crosswalk's there, like stand and wave, like step into just feeling confident doing the right thing, right? Whereas me, I'm the guy who fucking literally runs across that. When he gave that example, I was like, fuck, fair play. So within that list there, gents, you'll be able to then think about, okay, well, where in my life am I not showing up how I want to be? And once again, some of those things you might just not may not be relevant to you, which is completely fine. But if you're starting to think about things, maybe conflict in your relationships or areas in the past, it can highlight a few things, and you can go through experiences that you have and work out how you actually show up in that space, and then go, righto, cool. For example, acknowledges his emotions. I know a lot of blokes still struggle with that. We only have anger or happiness, that's it. But every other emotion we try to avoid. Most of us don't feel comfortable stating what we want in a relationship through shame or through guilt, right? So it might be something like that. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe this is my task right now, is to figure that out. On the flip side, he's highlighted something. Just let me get whatever this is. Yeah, on the flip side, he's given the opposite, right? So someone who isn't overly grounded in their masculine core. And once again, gents, the dynamic of your relationship, right? You might be the one in your relationship who's more in their feminine, and your partner might be more in their masculine. So obviously but he's given and written this book based off a male-female relationship where the male is more in his masculine. He explains that in the book. So so some things that are highlighting for blokes who aren't in their masculine core is they get defensive when verbally attacked. This used to be me massively. Gets unconsciously angry when being shamed. Talks too much to fill awkward silences. Tries to initiate sex indirectly rather than directly. Compulsively trying to please others. Withdrawing in the face of a partner's anger or confrontation. Fails to express or hold boundaries. Physically out of shape, unable to make a decision. So a lot of that, guys, is obviously, he's put that there as well. And I've been working on similar things, obviously, without having that list in the past. But I also know, for me, one of the biggest things that I've realized from even just reading that chapter in the book was how I deal with it under pressure. And that's why I tied that into, how we're dealing with everything at the moment while we're under pressure through COVID. And there's things that, when I conduct myself, when I talk about things, or if I'm in certain groups of people, like I don't feel comfortable or I don't feel confident, even when I'm talking about certain things like mental health or which is what I do for a fucking living, technically, I'll find myself retracting because I don't want to be, anyway, for whatever reason. So I know for myself to build in leadership in that space, I've got to start feeling comfortable in those situations and in those spaces. So it's just, even though we're talking about relationships and there's a whole heap of stuff that I got to work on in mind, it's also helping me realize other areas in my life where me not being in my masculine core, essentially, if that's what you want to call it, is holding me back from achieving the level of success that I want to have. So, gents, to be fair, I highly recommend reading that book because he gives you so much more context than what he actually gives you in the podcast, because there's a lot of things that are unexplained in the podcast where I just thought he was a dick. But now that I've read his book and he goes into it a whole heap more, it makes a lot more sense, because it's not about being dominating. It's not about being controlling. It's about how to lead yourself and how to lead within a relationship to the dynamics that you've got to have a really fulfilling relationship. Does anyone have any, thoughts on that or anything like that? See, Andy, if you haven't already left. Any thoughts on responsive or reacting in relationships or any of those masculine traits?
I was going to say there, Lockie, as you're reading those feminine trait, or not the feminine, but the non-masculine traits, I was like, oh, damn, that was me in every single one of my last relationships. So yeah, now that I'm in new relationship. It's a chance to, focus on the masculine side of things. So it's actually really good to hear that now.
And I think one of the most important parts as well, and thanks, Jesse, one of the most important parts is obviously everyone's relationship dynamic is unique and different. So I think above all is like communicating effectively to find out and understand what those boundaries and expectations are from both sides of the fence, because what works for me mightn't work for, Jez or Jesse or whatever. But what works for them mightn't work for my relationship dynamic. So I think above all else, like the reacting would be going, oh fuck, Lockie said to do this, or this book said to do this, rather than if you were to respond, you could go, okay, I can get feedback from how my relationship's going in that, and where can I either improve this or retract it a little bit. Does that make sense? Sick. Righto, gents. It's 6:46. Does anyone have anything else they want to share? Otherwise, we'll let you crack on, but it's something to definitely think about, discussing your accountability groups. I'm creating new accountability groups this week. So I've just taken screenshots of what groups you're in there. So we'll probably keep those groups and maybe add 1 or 2 people in those chats as well. I've got it mapped out for the next 3 months, guys, obviously based off the feedback that you guys gave or people who messaged me around topics or guest speakers that you want on to learn from. So we've got stuff like that, but every week in Circle, there'll be a question to discuss. I'll also put it in your WhatsApp group. So you can discuss it with your group and just get you thinking a little bit more about the stuff that we're discussing, because whether it's directly impacting you now or it might come into your life at some point, it's always worthwhile building self-awareness in some way, shape or form.
Lock, can I just say something regarding lockdown, mate?
Yep.
Sure thing. I just want to say, as you know, Victoria's gone back into it, 6-1, and it happened 8 o'clock last night. People had plans. They were, I knew a bloke that drove all the way to Brighton, country Victoria, which is a 3-hour drive from Melbourne. Got there and had to turn around and come straight back again. We were booked in for a weekend away. Basically, what I want to say is it's draining. We're quite over it here in Victoria, and it's, I've had a grouse week at gym where we've been really smashing it there and having a great time. It's my happy place. Catching up with my brothers, my mates when I go for dinner and things like that, and that just all gets taken away from us straight away. And I understand, we're fighting a virus and we have to do the right thing. But in Melbourne, it's 3 cases that are unknown in the city of Melbourne, and the whole of regional Victoria is locked down. But I just wanted to say, for people, in particular those in Melbourne, that we're living the winter. It's the winter. It's cold. It's miserable, and it's very hard to get. I feel flat. I feel really flat about this whole thing because I had such a good weekend planned. Just trying to say, guys, we're not alone, and everybody look after each other. Reach out if you're feeling flat, because it is hard to deal with. And there's people that I got a good job to go to. A good secure job that won't be shut down because of lockdown. But there's people out there that are in hospitality, in so many different jobs, tourism, that are affected by this these snap lockdowns, and it can put you in emotional strain, financial strain, and as you saw, as your post you shared yesterday, 3,600 calls to Lifeline in a day for people worrying about, their current situation. So if anybody ever wants to chat, or any way I can help, or we can help each other through this, reach out, because it's just really hard to deal with. So that's all I want to say, but good luck with it.
Well said, Ian. Well said.
Thanks a lot, mate.
And gents, for those, and I know I'm the first person to put my hand up to say I fucking hate Zoom, to be honest. I'm off it, but unfortunately it's the best thing we've got at the moment. So for those, we're doing a virtual coffee after, and it's open to anyone at 7 if you want to jump and grab a coffee and just literally talk shit. There's no real intention behind it, and that's what we'll keep running those for as long as lockdown's going daily, just purely because as much as I'd rather be slapping your guys' bums and high-fiving you, we can't do that. So we'll just stare at each other on a screen, which will be better than me sitting here by myself.
I mean, people talk about seasons and the seasons of having to think about yourself. I mean, think of it as a blessing that you've actually got an opportunity now as men to create our own future, and we don't have to have an excuse for it. We just get on and do it. Yeah, my little 2 cents.
Awesome. Righto,
Cool.
gents. Well, I'll update the groups later on today. So say goodbye to your current mates in there. Obviously, if you're not active in the groups, that's completely fine. I'll still throw you in there just to piss you off with notifications, because that's the kind of bloke I am. You deserve to be distracted. But if anyone has any questions, like I said, Ian said, reach out to myself as well. Because lockdown's a shit show, and especially if everyone's experiencing it in a different way. But we'll chat to you legends shortly. Oh, and next week, I'll tell you what we're going through. I've got it all mapped out here. What we're currently avoiding. So obviously, because to keep in line with the book, what we're currently avoiding in relationships and what we can improve on. And we want to obviously, I'll be sharing experiences, and it'd be cool to hear from you guys as well, plus providing structure, which would be pretty cool. Righto, gents. Have a great Arvo, a great day. And for those who are jumping on the coffee, I'll see you on the coffee.
Is the coffee the
Thanks a lot,
same number?
fellas.
Zoom number?
What's that?
Is the coffee catch up the same Zoom number?
Yeah, but just pretend to jump off and jump back on. Just so I can go make a coffee.
You want
Hey,
a
you
photo?
Regards.
Yeah, oh yeah, get a photo, lads. Sean, you're my man for that. You're the fucking man. Oh, gnarly. Fucking good. Tell you what, good looking group of blokes.
How good Cambo's top, mate.
Yeah. Cambo, I saw they postponed the Rugby League World Cup, mate.
Yeah, 2022. To be honest, I don't think it's a bad thing. So still going ahead. 2022. Greece will still be there.
Got a bit
You're
of
gonna-
practice, mate, do you? Bit of training?
Nah, I'm on the coaching staff, mate. There's no
No, I know
players
that.
for me.
No, I'm talking about the team, mate. That's why I need an extra year of training.
Yeah, hopefully we find an extra couple of players. So.
Mate, I reckon I can pass as Greek. Do you reckon?